so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out.
Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener, Lacy Christ. Lacy is a soulpreneur, mentor, and lightworker. She's a life and business coach for spiritual entrepreneurs who want to drop the day job and pursue their passion project into profitability. She's also an empath and natural healer, using tarot cards to help seekers uncover the things keeping them stuck and give them tools to take action. Hi, Lacy. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm really excited to have this conversation. Everything you're working on sounds right up our alley. So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, why don't you give us, why don't you catch us up on your story? How you got to this point, where you've been, where you're from, all of that.
Sure. I actually have a bit of an interesting past that I think people can relate with on a bunch of different levels. So I grew up very religious, very Mennonite, and I was homeschooled, and I lived in the woods, like in the country.
Wow.
And I was very isolated from everyone. So I grew up in this bubble of not really understanding the world or even understanding myself. I got married super young, had a couple kids. And then I had like a midlife crisis, like a young midlife crisis. But I sort of went through a time during that first marriage, and I realized that I was missing out on a lot of things. And I wasn't reading a lot of books, like the books that your listeners read. I wasn't allowed to read as a Mennonite. Like, I was told that those would poison my mind and, open the door for the devil to come in. And I'm not judging religion. I'm not judging, anybody who follows a Christian path or anything like that. I actually admire my past for what it was. But it was very stifling for me. And that's one of the reasons why I am doing what I'm doing today, which is coaching people into stepping into their passion and doing what lights them up and not being afraid to face their past. So I have that history of, being this very wholesome, righteous, like Mennonite person.
Yeah.
And stepping into, now I sort of identify as being a witch. And this is part of why I was drawn to your podcast. I mean, I've been listening to it for a while now because I wanted to surround myself with something, people in my life that lift me up and motivate me and expand my mind. And your podcast is one of them. And, they say you get like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I think that I include technology and books with all of that,
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
So yeah, I was listening to your podcast and there was an episode about identity and it really just rung true with me and everything Brandon said. It was a short podcast. It was only like 30 minutes, but it just really struck a chord with me. And I was like, my identity has transformed throughout the years into something that's completely different now than what it was, So that's like part of my path, part of my history. And there's so much more that has happened, but yeah, that's how I got to like where I am.
Yeah. Well, what happened in between, you being in that very, like confined state to where you are now? Like what was the catalyst to make that huge change for you? Because it sounds like you went through like a huge change where you were like, I don't want to be like this anymore.
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And it happened almost instantaneously. It was like an aha moment. And I remember the moment I was sitting on the computer. My husband was in the other room at the time, my ex-husband now. He was playing a video game and we had 2 small children and I was on the computer and I was writing my book. It was a novel that I still haven't finished. And now almost 10 years later, but I was writing my book and I realized that I was writing a story of someone who was living a life that I wanted to live. And in that moment, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not, my life is going to work, coming home, doing the same thing every single night, making dinner, doing the dishes, taking care of the kids, changing the diapers, and going to sleep and waking up and doing it all over again. And it was so, I realized I was so unfulfilled and there was so much more. And I don't even know how I knew there was so much more other than my own imagination, because it's not like I was exposed to things. I was really just living in my little bubble, But in that moment, I decided, I actually stopped writing my book in that moment. And I wrote a letter to my ex-husband now. And I wrote it and we didn't have, our printer wasn't working, so I couldn't even print it out. But I typed it up. And I literally, before I lost my courage, I went and told him, I just wrote something and I need you to read it. And he stopped what he was doing because he knew this was weird. It was a strange thing for me to be doing. So he came in the other room and he read the letter that I had written to him on the computer screen. And it essentially said that, I'm not fulfilled in my life and I want a divorce. And for a very religious person, still deeply in religion, I was Lutheran at the time with my ex-husband. It's something that you don't do,
Right.
And it's very like judged. And he panicked. He called his entire family and they tried to do an intervention.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, they all came over and they all tried to like understand me. They're like, you must just be going through something. Maybe you need to get counseling,
Yeah.
So, and I just literally just stared straight ahead and I stuck to my guns and I said, no, this is what I want. And on top of that, I mean, my oldest child at the time was 4 and my youngest was 2. So, we had 2 small children. So it was a huge like leap for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody, even like my family, who, loves me and supports me, they thought like, what's going on,
Yeah.
But,
so how did you, sorry, go ahead. Keep going. No, you go.
The best decision of my life,
Yeah. What changed after you made that decision? Like, Because that is a pretty scary, I mean, even though you have that knowing, it reminds me of like, Eat, Pray, Love, like just like this moment of just like, I can't do this anymore type of thing. And like, I have to do something drastic. But still, it's like you said, I'm sure it was like pretty terrifying at the same time. So what happened after you made that change? Like, did things go the way that you thought? Did your life start to open up, or what happened there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is actually the transformation that happened. This is the important part, right?
Right.
So what happened was I literally went out and I bought a book that I was never allowed to read by Deepak Chopra. And it's called, I'm actually looking at it now. It's on the shelf. It's called Book of Secrets. It's not The Secret, it's not that popular, The Secret. It's the Book of Secrets by Deepak Chopra. And I read it and I felt like I was breaking every rule in the religious, world that I was in anyways.
Yeah.
And I read that book and it literally changed my life.
What is that book about? Because I've read several of his books, but not that one. I don't even think I've heard of that one.
It's almost like a compilation. Is that how you say it?
Compilation.
Of essays, kind of. And each chapter is a little lesson. There's tasks to do at the end of each chapter that sort of help you expand your mind and grow. It's a lot like The Secret, I think.
Cool.
But honestly, you know what? It could have been any book at that point. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be that one. And it just so happened that it was.
Right.
And now I've read hundreds of books, and on the same vein. And, each one changes my life. But at that point, I just needed something, something to tell me it's okay. And you're on the right path. And you're a spiritual being having this human experience. And that's okay.
Definitely. So you read that book and what happened? I'm like, so your mind was opened and you were exposed to all this stuff that you never were allowed to be exposed to before. And so what started to happen in your life?
I explored the world. I didn't travel per se, but I started reaching out online to a lot of different people. I actually was super active. This is kind of funny because nobody uses it anymore. Well, not a lot of people anyways. What is that Google platform? Google.
Wait, which one were you?
The social platform.
Google Hangouts?
Yeah. No. See, it's so like, what it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but it's almost like Facebook, but it's on Google. Can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
I mean, you can use Hangouts on it.
I don't know. Google Plus?
Google Plus. That's what it was. Yes. And I was like in the alpha testing stage of Google Plus. And I met a lot of people there and they became my friends and they're from all over the world and they were spiritual people, really just opening my mind to a lot of different things. I dated a lot and I never did that. That was like when I got married, my husband was the only person I had ever kissed.
Wow.
And I got married when I was 20. So I was super young and I had not explored who I was. And so I started dating people. I actually explored my own sexuality. Am I straight? I didn't even know. And now come to find out, I definitely identify with being a bisexual and being attracted to both men and women. And I'm okay with saying that. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So I explored myself, I explored the world, and I tried to really understand different perspectives and have a good grasp on things outside of my little bubble. And, everything just changed. I started going out dancing a lot. That was my thing.
Oh, dancing's amazing.
It is.
It's so good for you.
And yeah, it's good for you. It keeps you fit. And on top of that, like, you don't have to talk to people to
Yeah.
communicate with them when you're dancing, you know? It's like that
Yeah.
unspoken understanding.
Okay, I just have to jump in really quick and tell you if you haven't heard of this, because this is something that's just been inserted into my life and it's exactly what you're talking about. Have you ever heard of ecstatic dancing?
No.
Okay, you need to Google this like as soon as we get off the phone and see where it is near you, because it's all over the world. And what it is, it's like um, a completely safe space. The rules are there's no talking. You can interact with other people, but it's all about the individual experience and dancing as freely as humanly possible in this amazing space with all these other people who are doing the same. And it's like, I was introduced to this when I was on a retreat where I was training to become an EFT practitioner. And at the retreat, I was told, always look for ecstatic dancing. It's all over the world. And when you find that group, you're going to find like your people. You're going to find the people that are just like you're connected to on like a soul level. And it's so true. And it's like the safest. I just went yesterday. I was up all night dancing the night before. And then I woke up in the morning and was like, I think I should go to ecstatic dancing again today. So I went, and it's just exactly what you're talking about. You don't have to talk. You're just in your own space, and it's really freeing and beautiful. So definitely check that out. I feel like you would really like it.
That sounds amazing. I can't wait to look it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. So you went dancing and you were just like coming out of your shell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I totally stepped into a different person. Like I was, I mean, it's still me, but just a different part of me that I didn't know I had, the goddess. You know what I mean?
Yes. The inner
Um,
goddess.
yeah, and she was confident and she just shined, and everybody like was drawn to me. And I don't mean to like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like be,
Yeah.
pompous or whatever. But
No.
I into my life, and it felt
Yeah.
amazing. And that's how I met my second husband, and we
Oh.
met dancing, and now we have two more children. So
Wow.
yeah, so my
That's
life has taken a journey, from point A to point Z.
yeah. Well, hopefully there's more points after that. But but yeah, wow, that's such a, I'm getting all these first I was getting Eat Pray Love, like imagining you with Eat Pray Love, but now I'm getting, and this is kind of a funny one, but have you ever seen that show, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
Yes.
I hope you think that's funny, but just
Yeah.
about how like she was in the bunker for forever and didn't know about, just was like, confined to certain things. And then, she's like so determined to go out in the world and spread sunshine and just experience it.
Yeah.
So I'm getting that kind of a vibe from you too. So that's,
Totally.
that's,
Watch that show and relate with her like on a deep level. You don't.
yeah, I feel like you do. That's what I'm saying. I was like getting that vibe from you completely. That's awesome.
Like
so
people
wow.
talk popular music, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I have no clue.
Yeah, because you weren't listening to it back then. Wow. Yeah, it is amazing because I mean, and your story is unique. I mean, I think though a lot of people, have experienced some things in their early life. It's rare that, or I guess I haven't talked to anyone who's like actually been, secluded in that way. And it's such a beautiful image of like being in this, kind of little hole, and then I just imagine you just blossoming like a flower and just opening up to all of life. And it's so inspiring and so awesome to hear. So what would you say to, somebody else who, because maybe somebody else is listening, maybe multiple people are listening who are in some sort of similar situation. What would you say to them about, if they're, fearful about what the next steps are or about taking that leap? Like, what advice would you give them?
I mean, this speaks to me very deeply, and I have a deep message to bring, and it's super important to me. And what I would tell anybody listening is that there's abundance available to each and every one of us. right now in this moment. So that girl sitting at the computer who, stopped what I was doing and typed a letter to my ex-husband, you know what I mean? That moment, that decision is available to each one of us at any given time to change our lives. We have access to this sweet spot of expansion, and it's just waiting there for us, waiting for us to tap into it. And the advice I would give to someone is to listen to that inner voice. Just allow the emotion that's speaking to you on the inside, to your heart, to your gut, and just allow that emotion to have a voice and step into it. The planet needs us right now. It needs the spiritual people. It needs the people on this podcast. You know what I mean? It needs each and every one of us to step up. And I feel like now is the time. And, stop waiting. What are you waiting for? Are you stuck in your 9 to 5? Are you a prisoner of, this urban prison, where you have to be tied to a job that makes you miserable, and, you're not living out your purpose. You're not being fulfilled. You're not changing lives like we're called to do.
Definitely.
So that's my message. Sorry, I'm going off on a...
No, don't be sorry. This is your interview. This is your time to shine and speak. And that's absolutely, it's very powerful, and absolutely, like, just it even resonates for me. It's like that was when I just mentioned that I got up in the morning the other day and was just like, I'm going to go dancing again, like this afternoon.
Right.
I had this realization. So I had this like really good day on Saturday, and it was kind of this day where just things were flowing into my experience. And I was like, oh, everything's going well. And then we had plans to go out dancing that night at this like music event in Philadelphia where I live. And we went, and we were out till like 3 a.m, which is late for me. I'm usually in bed by like 10:30. And anyway, the next morning I woke up at like 10:30, and then I got this notification on my phone. Oh, ecstatic dance is at 11:30. And I caught myself in a thought process that I probably had since I was 5 or 6 or 7. That was like, oh yeah, I kind of want to do that, but I just did a lot. Like, I was just out a lot, and that's enough for now. Like, I caught myself telling myself that's enough for now. And then when I caught that thought, I was like, wait a minute, why am I telling there's a part of me that's literally like, I want to go do that. Like, I have the energy, like, I want to go. And then there's this other voice that's like, but you already had your fun. Like, you had the fun last night. You can just stay home today and just do what you always do, and just, don't experience anything new, and just, now just relax, and then wait for the next fun time, like a week or 2 later. And when I caught that going on in my head, I was like, that makes no sense. This is like my own self trying to limit myself, trying to keep myself down, instead of listening to the voice inside, like you were mentioning, that's saying, what are you waiting for? Like, here's another fun thing. Why don't you go do that too? You have the energy. Go ahead. And it was really an interesting moment and a powerful moment when I caught that and was like, oh, I'm just going to go do this. Even if it seems like it's quote unquote too much fun in too little of a time, it's like, that's what we're supposed to be doing, like going and following our highest excitement. So
that's exciting. I just got chills. I'm like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what it gave me chills, and it gave me excitement, because I was thinking, what would happen if, because I think that we've also, in terms of society, been kind of conditioned to be like, well, like, weekends are for fun and weekdays are for, like, weekdays are for work, and, just wait all week to have your fun, and then be miserable the rest of the time. And it's like, I'm personally trying to now figure out, well, how can I have fun all the time, and how can I not feel guilty about it, which is like the thing that I think society is somehow, programmed into us, this feeling of guilt. So anyway, I completely resonate with that, with everything that you just said. And I think that's so true. Like, what are we waiting for? Literally, if you're listening to this, what are what are you waiting for? Ask yourself that, because I had to ask that. I had to ask myself that. And I think I'm going to keep asking myself that every day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like one of the things you get tattooed on your wrist, you know?
Yes, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like your mantra, you know, there. And I really do think that's powerful, like questions, like to ask yourself, because as you know, you were kind of demonstrating with your story of your early life, it's like we do kind of just get into these unconscious patterns, just kind of like going through the motions. And then one day a question comes to us and we go, oh, why am I doing this? Or like, oh, what do I like? Or, oh, what do I want? And it's like, it seems almost too simple, but it really is, it really is those questions that can change everything. Right. So, yeah. So what, how did you find this podcast?
I was just searching for spiritual podcasts, you know, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I wanted that connection, you know, more than just like, you know, this is what you do in your business to level up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Which I appreciate that, but I really like, you know, the woo of everything, and I like to incorporate that.
Me
in what
too.
I do. So.
I love everything woo woo. It's so great. And I love it that you're embracing that. That's awesome. Well, so what are you working on now?
Right now, I started a business. Well, this is actually another little story I have. Can I tell it?
Of course.
Okay.
We love stories.
So a couple years ago, my husband and I started a vegan chocolate business.
Really?
And yes, and the chocolate is amazing, but we actually just closed it as of June 1st. So
I missed the boat.
yeah, well, we're thinking about doing it in a different aspect, but it was the storefront that sort of killed us. It was just too much overhead.
Right.
And we started with that. Like, we started with the storefront, and it was just, we should have eased into it. So we learned a lot of lessons along the way.
Yeah.
But in doing so, I quit a job that was very secure. I was working for the state at a school district. And I had a wonderful retirement, and I had, you know, all my ducks were in a row. And everybody said I was crazy to leave. But, sorry, I'm losing my voice.
It's okay. It's fine.
So I left, but I left that job, and we started the chocolate business. And in doing so, I realized I don't ever want to work for anybody ever again. And I realized how much I actually appreciate my freedom. So I kind of realized too that I don't love making chocolate. So that's good to know.
Yes.
But so the whole point of the story is what I'm doing now is I feel is my soul's purpose. And that is being a one-on-one coach for spiritual entrepreneurs, people who want to do what they've always done or what they've always wanted to do, and they're stuck in their 9-to-5, and you know, they want to change their lives. They want to create a new reality for their lives instead of just sort of facing the reality that they, you know, are stuck with, you know?
Yeah.
So I've created a program for people to get that process going and move into actually making money within 6 months to quit their job and do what they love. So yeah, can I say my website on here?
Sure. Yeah. Plug away.
All right. So my website is lacychrist.com. That's LACYCHRIST.com. And if people are interested, they can look me up there and apply for one of the spots. I do have some openings, and I would love to have some new clients. But the whole point is I want to help people, and I want to help as many people as possible to make their lives better. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but
No.
like it's my highest calling. It really is. And I want to do it in an epic way. So I really want to take this business that I've started and created and take it to every level it was meant to be taken to. I'm writing a book about being an empath. I do a lot of tarot reading, and I use that for like healing and diving deeper into like deeper meanings behind things.
Yeah.
So did you have a question? Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just going to say that's the business sounds awesome. And I mean, that is, I think, in the Facebook group, in the Positive Heads Facebook group, I keep seeing more and more people kind of wanting to make that jump, looking for, I even saw someone posting they're looking for a mentor, looking for a coach recently. Like, I think people are really, especially in this group, starting to want to do that. So you are in the right place, and I'm sure, like we're all, the way I see this group, especially, it's like we're all just kind of discovering our gifts and what we're drawn to. And it's like right now we're all just kind of starting this new journey. But it feels to me, I keep getting this feeling like we're all going to be so not ahead of things, but kind of like what I'm trying to say is I feel like we're all kind of getting our ducks in a row now, while the rest of the world is kind of like still figuring out what's going on. If they're kind of not really awake yet, they're still kind of, playing the corporate game or doing whatever they're doing. But I feel like there's a lot of people who are awake, who are realizing what they really love and starting to move towards that. And although it might seem kind of scary at first, or like, well, is this really going to be a thing? Or, trying to kind of start building these businesses up, it's like I'm seeing more and more and more people waking up by the day, gravitating towards this stuff. And I think that we're all going to be like the superstars of the future. Like, I don't mean it to be like, and everybody else is going to be, but I just mean, I feel like we all we're setting everything up now. And then, in a few years' time, this is going to be like, what's going on? This is going to be it. So, I just feel like excited about what you're doing. I feel so good about what you're doing. Like when you're talking about it, I just feel so, I can like feel your excitement and enthusiasm. And yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the group that will be interested in what you have to offer. And you mentioned the book that you're writing about being an empath. Did you want to, or I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but I know we're all empathic, so it's a relevant topic.
Well, I think on the point that you made, I think that millennials are growing up to be this group of people who want to be authentic. And that doesn't mean that they go get a job at a local bank and, sit in a cubicle all day doing something that drains them, Yeah. So when people talk about millennials and how entitled they act, and now I'm a millennial too. Actually, I'm like right at the top of it. I'm like the old millennial.
So am I. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not judging at all, but people like talk about millennials in this like negative light. And I'm like, dude, they're our future, and they're doing like what you just said. They're going to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And
they're listening to themselves.
Yes. Yeah. They're listening to themselves. And you know what? All the older people, our parents, or our grandparents, they wanted to be secure, and, they went through a lot of hard times. And, the way that they lived their lives was just to make it to the next day, and so it's scary for them to look at, our generation and see us, quitting our jobs to go, read tarot cards.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
So,
totally.
Yeah,
and to that, sorry, just piggybacking on that. Totally. And I think that's why like the gig economy is so big now, because it's like these people, I mean, and I'm part of the gig economy. It's like, because I'm someone that I've worked for people before, and I've known for a very long time that like I need to work. I've owned my own business and worked for myself for the last like 6 years. And that's something that I learned about myself is like, oh, I've always kind of been like this. It's been really hard for me to work for other people, mainly because I just need my independence. Like I've always needed to feel that way. And I think the gig economy is so big because people want their freedom. Like they're like, I'm not going to be stuck in a, you know, in an office, in a cubicle for 9 hours a day when I know that I need my freedom. So even having 5 different jobs is better for them, you know, than being cemented or being, you know, locked into this building. No offense no offense if you're listening to this and you work in a corporate environment, because I'm sure that's happening too. And some people love it. Like that's fine. But just going along with what you said, yeah, I think that's absolutely true of millennials. And final point about this is that the more people, even though it's scary and it sounds scary and it can be scary, it's like the more people that actually do listen to themselves and do the quote unquote scary thing, even if, let's say, like they're giving up salary or you know, they're giving up something that came with like the bigger job. It's like the more people start to do this, the more that world transforms, the more the world of work and what that looks like will transform, because people are going to be leaving that old structure and making the new structure. So we all will have more freedom. We all will. The more people listen to themselves, the quicker this kind of transformation is going to happen. So, you know, listen to yourself and like help this thing along. Anyway, I'm sorry I jumped in on that. We were talking about that in the book. Yeah.
Yeah, the book. Oh, I was like, I know she asked me a question.
Yeah, the book.
So the book I've titled it The Powerful Empath, but I'm trying to get published. So the title might change, but I was inspired to write this book because a couple years ago, actually, it seems like it's really not that long ago, someone told me I was an empath, and at that point, I didn't really know what it was, and it scared me a little. I was like, well, what is that? So I did some research, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am. This is me. Like, this is totally me. And now I've done a lot of research, and I realized that, like, there's so much more to it than just, you know, a weird little definition. So if you're listening and you don't know what an empath is, just really quick, it's someone who feels what other people feel. And it's not like you're just, you know, understanding it. It's more like you're actually experiencing it. So, like, for instance, like when my husband walks in the room, I like immediately get a sense of where he's at, what's going on, and if there's something bothering him, if he's excited, you know, whatever it might be. Like I just intuit exactly where he's at, and I know, you know, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know.
Right.
I don't even ask him if there's something bothering him. I just know.
Right.
And there's other like superpowers that come along with it. Like, you know, if people are lying, you cry at every movie you go to see. You know, there's other things, and you can have like lots of psychic abilities that, you know, you develop off of this. So my book is really just to help people understand what it means to be an empath, because like when I was told, I was so confused, and I was taking weird surveys online, you know, and I feel like there should be better resources, and actually contemporary resources. Like there are some books out there about it, but I want to write something that, you know, the millennials will relate with, because I feel like they're growing up. They are the indigo children, you know, and they are the ones who are going to be these empathic souls just taking over the world.
Yeah.
And I want to give them a resource, like a really good one, and one that's got some woo incorporated into it. So it started off, I was going to make it the witch's guide to being an empath, but I didn't really want to just limit it to witches. So
yeah. No, I like that. The powerful empath.
Yeah.
Even if the title changes, I still like that. That's good.
Thank you. I don't think it.
Well, you'll have to let us know when that comes out, or what happens with that, because I'm sure a lot of people will be interested to read that, especially, you know, from your perspective. So awesome. And the tarot reading, is that something that you just use when you're coaching, or are you doing that as well, like as something on the side?
You know what? I actually stopped doing it on the side because it takes up quite a bit of time. And so I pretty much just use it for the coaching. I do have tarot healing, actually like a program. If someone's interested, they get a tarot reading every week and we discuss their lives and how that unfolds. And the tarot reading is tailored to them. So I actually have like a program where people can purchase a set number of tarot readings. So I still do, just not in the one-off tarot readings.
Right.
I like to dig deeper and I want to get to the source of things. So
definitely. I like that. Cool. Well, so what is one thing that you think would benefit every P head to know or understand as they continue on their own journey?
Well, it's like I said before, I really just want people to embrace the now and take action, whatever that might be, to pursue their passion, because life is too short. And, it's not about accumulating things. That's not what I'm getting at. It's just more about like, how are you going to change the world? Just that's all.
Yeah, only that. No big deal. Well, how you and how you change the world is, I think, by, you can say that in a different way, like just by following your highest excitement and really asking yourself, like, what it is that you are here for, like what it is that you feel called to, because when you answer that call, then I had this image come to me like a few weeks ago. It was just in my head. It was kind of like I kind of like zoomed out of the earth and I saw all these people like moving around, kind of like little dots on the earth. And then I saw kind of like Pac-Man, where like, they're kind of like going around eating the little, like, do you know Pac-Man? I feel like I have to ask you that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, they're kind of like going around like very like slowly on these paths. And I saw these little dots as people who were just kind of like doing what other people said they should do. Like I was seeing one section of society. It's like all the people who kind of like aren't really listening to themselves and they're just kind of doing what they think they should do, right? So they're kind of like moving really slow all around and they're not really getting anywhere and it just seems like it's taking forever. And then I saw that shift and I saw the little dots change to people who were listening to their calling and actually doing what they felt called to or felt excited about. And then I saw like the little pathways that these little people were on. Suddenly they just like streamlined, like they went super far and super fast. And kind of like all of a sudden these shortcuts were formed, or not shortcuts, but just like direct routes, like that they just went super fast and super far. And I felt like whatever that was showing me was like, it's like we all, when we're not listening to ourselves, we are taking the very, 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 very long way. And actually our earth is very inefficient in that way because everyone's kind of miserable and just grumbling around and bumping into each other and just, ugh. And then it's like, I saw the opposite. Like, what if everyone just listened? What if everyone just did what made them feel good? And I saw everyone like zipping and zooming around and the earth just kind of like shifting. And anyway, so how to save the earth, or sorry, I forget how you put it earlier, but is just to listen, like we were talking about earlier, and just to do what you like. So
change the world.
Yes, to change the world. Thank you. Exactly.
And that's part of what I do too in my coaching or mentorship. I call it whatever you like to call it.
Yeah.
What it's called. But part of what I do is help you discover that zone of genius, or that what's the word I like to call it? Your individual, like your unique ability. That's what I call it. What unique ability do you have that you've always had that's going to be your zone of genius,
Yeah.
And even if you don't know what it is, it's okay. We can still get this started. We can still, talk about this and, move you out of a place of miserable life if you are feeling miserable. You don't need to know exactly what it is to get started on that path,
Definitely. And I feel like talking to someone like you is, especially if you're confused, it's like the greatest way to get clarity, to have someone who's there to support you and to see you, and to kind of reflect back to you what you're actually wanting and needing. So definitely that's an amazing, that's something that I think a lot of people need, to just, because we've kind of been in denial about some of it for so long. I feel like a lot of us. So definitely that's.
Or we just don't see what it is, we just don't.
Totally.
We can't assess our own lives to the point where we know what it is.
Totally.
It turned out her zone of genius was genealogy research.
That's great.
Yeah. And it totally lit her up, and she was just totally all about it. And she didn't realize that was her thing. And as she was talking with me, I was like, hey, like, you have to pay attention to this. This is like, do you see how you're acting? Like, when you talk about it, like your whole body changes, and you get really excited, So, I mean, it doesn't have to be like something completely spiritual, like, even though that's my zone of genius, could be something like genealogy research. You never know.
Totally. That's the other thing. Just because you're, a spiritual person or into spirituality, it doesn't necessarily mean that, like you said, like that what you are passionate about has to be, or that your thing or your unique ability has to be something spiritual. You can live a spiritual life while doing architecture. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just a couple more questions before we wrap up. Do you have any fun or inspiring manifestation stories you'd like to share?
You know what? My entire life is a manifestation.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you were talking about something earlier that actually made me think about an Abraham Hicks recording I heard recently about manifestation. Yeah. And I forget what you said, but it really just made me think of that. I'm trying to remember. But I think that everything in our lives is a manifestation of what we want, even the bad stuff. And I think it works both ways. If you are in a place of lack and that's all you think about all day, you're going to continue to be in a place of lack. If you are in a place of abundance, or even just acknowledging the abundance around you, you're going to manifest more of that. Oh, that's what you were talking about, the dancing. Like how you felt like there was almost too much. And so I was thinking about this Abraham Hicks recording, and she was saying how we get scared or we get overwhelmed when we start manifesting the great things that we want. And then we sort of like panic, and we sort of like, she didn't say this, but it's almost like you're a turtle and you pull your head back in under your shell.
Yes. I love that image. Yes.
Yeah. And you just can't, like, you can't keep shedding that outer layer because you get scared, So I think that manifestation is a huge thing, and I love to talk about it. And I've actually been studying it a lot in the past few months. But it's everything. It's everything in our lives, every moment. Like right now. Like, I manifested this by reaching out to you guys and saying, hey, like, what I would love to be a part of your show, so that was a manifestation. And being a witch too, I like to talk about this because I get a lot of people in my groups saying, do you have a spell for this? Do you have a spell for that? And I firmly believe that every word we speak is a spell. And, we are speaking spells as we communicate. And these are these are powerful things, are words that we string together that can manifest different futures for ourselves and for other people. So that's my little bit on manifestation.
Definitely. Abracadabra means as I speak, I create, right? Isn't that correct? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
I'm pretty positive abracadabra, like when a magician says abracadabra and they, pull a rabbit out of the hat or whatever. But what abracadabra really means is as I speak, I create. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's absolutely true. And I mean, speaking of Abraham, one of the greatest things that they say that I love is like, guess what? Like, your emotion is a manifestation. like that's a manifestation. That before the quote unquote manifestation, even just your emotion is a manifestation. So it's all, like you said, it's all a manifestation. And absolutely, absolutely. And that's something that I think about sometimes too, is like, you know, every single thing that I'm seeing around me, like my apartment, even though like, but every piece of it I manifested, essentially. Like I co-created it. Like I'm the reason that it's here, even if someone else brought it in. Like I had some part in it. So yeah, it's all a manifestation, and it's really amazing to look at your life that way. Well, awesome. Okay, so one last question before we go. Do you have an intention for 2018?
Yeah, I do. Actually, in the beginning of 2018, my word for the year was, well, it still is, I suppose, lucrative.
Oh, so I love that word.
Yeah, it really resonated with me, and it's my word for the year. My tarot card for the year is the Hierophant, and he is a it's kind of weird. He's kind of like a religious leader in the tarot card.
Yeah.
And he's someone who speaks to people and teaches them. So, you know, as this is the year that I'm building and creating this business of, you know, being a soulpreneur mentor, I feel it's totally in line with the Hierophant. And I was like, this is so perfect. But my intention for the year is definitely to just help as many people as possible to make their lives better. So, you know, there's my cheesy quote again, but that's it.
we like cheese over here. That's okay. That's amazing. And I totally resonate with that. I think a lot of others do too. I think that's what brings us together. You know, we all really want to help. And the best thing is that we're all right now able to help each other. Like, we all have different skills, and I feel like right now we're kind of working on each other, and then that's going to expand outward to more and more people as this, you know, movement kind of grows. So it's awesome to be connected to you, Lacy. I think your story is amazing, and I think I'm just so happy that we connected, and I'm so excited for you about your business. And if you guys, I hope if this has resonate with you, that you will take action and listen and not wait, and reach out to Lacy and get some coaching. And Lacy, it was a pleasure talking to you, and let us know when that book comes out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.